And this is Miss Humphrey, and today we're going to be doing writing systems of equations using substitution. So today we're going to be talking about some word problems, and that's also going to involve solving some systems as well. Now we're not going to complete this whole note sheet. We are just going to do the first 5, and that'll follow for the same for your homework. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. So taking a look at that first one, it says campus rentals rents 2 and 3 bedroom apartments for $700 and $900 per month, respectively. Last month, they had 6 vacant apartments and reported $4,600 in lost rent. How many 2 and 3 bedrooms apartments were vacated? All right, so let's take a look, first of all, just setting this problem up. Okay, so first thing I notice, okay, so there's 2 and 3 bedroom apartments. So I'm going to let the 2 bedroom apartments be represented by Y, and let me let the 3 bedroom, or X, sorry, and let the 3 bedroom apartments be represented by Y. The biggest thing when you're doing these problems is that you make sure you tell me what X and Y each equal, respectively. Okay, so for every X 2 bedroom apartment that was vacated, they lost $700. For every Y 3 bedroom, they're losing $900, and that needs to add up to a total loss of $4,600. Okay, so then let's take a look at that next one. So it said they had 6 vacant apartments. So between the number of 2 bedrooms and the number of 3 bedrooms, it needs to be 6 total apartments. So let's go ahead and let's solve this system using substitution. So what I notice is that this X has the coefficient of 1. So I'm going to take this equation, X plus Y is equal to 6, and I'm going to solve it for X. So I'm going to subtract Y from both sides, and then I get that X is equal to a negative Y plus 6. So X is equal to a negative Y plus 6. Now I know that X is equal to this. That means X and this guy are the same thing. So where I see X up here, I can go ahead and I can plug that in. So then I get 700. Now I'm going to remove the X completely. I'm going to put negative 6Y plus 6 plus 900Y, oops, running out of room, is equal to 4,600. So now I need to solve this for Y. So I'm going to start by distributing that 700 to each thing. So then I'm going to get, and I'm just going to write it down here so I can figure out, get enough space here. So I'm going to have a negative 700Y, and then I'm going to take 700 times 6. Well, that's going to give me 4,200 plus 900Y, right? We don't want to forget about this guy right here, is going to be equal to 4,600. So now I need to solve for Y. So I have negative 700 plus 900. That's going to be 200Y plus 4,200 is equal to 4,600. So we're going to subtract that from both sides. And then I get 200Y is equal to 400 because 4,600 and 4,200 is equal to 400. So then we're going to divide both sides by 200. And I'm going to get that Y is equal to 2. Now, Y represented something. So if we scroll back up to our original problem, we see that Y represents 3 bedroom apartments. So we need to say that there's 2 3-bedroom apartments. That's not writing well, is it? That's supposed to say apartments, okay? So now we need to figure out how many total 2 bedrooms we have. Well, if you remember, we solved for Y. We said that X was equal to a negative Y plus 6. So then X has to be equal to, put a little dash here so that's not confusing, okay? A negative 2, so I'm going to plug in 2 since Y is equal to 2, a negative 2 plus 6. So X is equal to 4. So we need to make sure we label that the X represents 2 bedroom apartments. Okay, so we don't have to write this out as a coordinate point because we labeled it for each variable. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at that next problem. It says the second of 2 numbers is. All right, so I'm going to let Y represent the second of 2 numbers, and I'm going to let X represent the first. Whenever you see is typically means equals. So the second of 2 numbers is, or is equal to 5 more more usually means plus, then twice the first. So to get twice the first, we need to take the first times 2. And it says that the sum, so that means that we're adding the two numbers, needs to be equal to 44. So the sum of the two numbers is equal to 44. So what I notice here is that y is equal to 5 plus 2x. So where I see y down here, I'm going to take y out completely, and I'm going to put this whole thing in instead. So that's going to give me x. Now I'm substituting out the y, and I get 5 plus 2x is equal to 44. So I took that y out completely, and I put 5 plus 2x in instead. So x plus 2x is going to give me 3x plus 5 is equal to 44. So now I need to solve for x. So to do that, I first need to get this 5 over to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. So then I get 3x is equal to 39. Then we're going to divide both sides by 3. And then x is equal to 13. When you divide 39 divided by 3, you get 13. So the first of the two numbers is 13. Well, let's go ahead and get the second. So we know, going up here, that y is equal to 5 plus 2x. Well, now we know what x is equal to. So x is going to come out completely, and I'm going to put in 13 instead, since x is equal to 13. So then I get that y is equal to 5, and then 2 times 13 is going to give me 26. And 5 plus 26 is going to give me 31. So then I get that y is equal to 31. And since we're just trying to locate the two numbers, we don't really have to label it. We can leave it simply as x is equal to 13 and y is equal to 31. All right, let's take a look at number 3. So the State Fair is a popular field trip destination. This year, the senior class at Apple Valley and the senior class of Eastview High School both planned trips there. The senior class at Apple Valley rented and filled 8 vans and 8 buses to equal 240 students. Eastview High School filled 4 vans and 1 bus for 54 students. Each van had the same number of students in it as did the buses. Find the number of students in each van and each bus. So for every X van, or for every X number of students in the van, we had 8 of them. And then we had 8 buses with Y number of students, and that needed to total 240. So that represents our Apple Valley. So now for Eastview, they have X number of students in each van and 4 vans, and they had 1 bus with Y number of students, and that is equal to 54. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to solve this by substitution. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take this equation right here, and I'm going to solve it for y. So I have 4x plus y is equal to 54. So to solve that for y, I need to take this and bring it over to the other side. Well, since it's a positive 4x, I need to subtract 4x from both sides. So then I get y is equal to a negative 4x plus 54. So y is equal to that. Negative 4x plus 54 and y are the same thing. So I'm going to take this, and where I see y in that first equation, remember we have to use the first equation because this represents the second equation, I'm going to plug that in. So then I'm going to create myself some more space here. So I have 8x. Then we're going to substitute y out, and I'm going to put negative 4x plus 54 in instead, and that needs to equal 240. So then we have 8x minus 32x. Okay, when we distribute that 8 in, 8 times 54 is 432, and that's equal to 240. So 8x minus 32x is a negative 24x, plus 432 is equal to 240. So now we're going to subtract that 432 from both sides. Then we get a negative 24x is equal to 240 minus 432, which is a negative 192. Divide both sides by negative 24. And we get that x is equal to 8. So that means that there's 8 students. Now remember that x represented the van. So that means there's 8 students in each van. So now I want to take and I want to substitute in x, that 8, for x in that equation that I solved for. Remember I took and I solved for y here. So I'm going to plug in x right there. So then that gives me that y is equal to a negative 4 times 8 plus 54. So y is equal to a negative 32 plus 54. Add those two together, and you get that y is equal to 22. Now remember that y represents students in the bus. So we want to make sure that we label it for the bus. So there's 22 students in the bus. Let's take a look at this one. Brenda's school is selling tickets to the spring musical. On the first day of ticket sales, the school sold 3 senior citizens. I'm going to let X represent the price of senior citizen and Y represent the price of child. So on the first day, at X price, they sold 3 senior citizen. At Y price, they sold 9 child, and that was $75. So then the next day, they took in $67. So they sold 8 senior citizens at price X and Y child at price 5. So let's go ahead and use this by substitution. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this first equation and I'm going to solve it for x. So I have 3x plus 9y is equal to 75. So now I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides and I get that 9y, I'm solving for y, or for x I mean. So I'm going to go ahead and erase that. Okay, so then I'm going to subtract 9y from both sides. So subtract 9y from both sides. Oops, that's not working, is it? Come on. So then we're going to get, once we select that, we're going to subtract 9y. Goodness gracious me, it's not letting me. Okay, so when we subtract that, we're going to get 3x is equal to, ooh, it's really freaking out. So if you want to just write it vocally while I get a second to figure this out, it's going to be 3x, whoa, there we go, is equal to a negative 9y plus 75. So then we're going to divide both sides by 3, and we're going to get that x is equal to a negative 3y plus 25 when you subtract those out. So now x is equal to that right there. So where I see x up at that first equation, or that second equation, I can plug in that negative 3y plus 25. So let's do that. So then I get 8, and now I'm going to plug in, instead of the x, negative 3y plus 25, and then plus 5y is equal to 67. So now we're going to distribute in that negative 8, so I get a negative 24y plus 8 times 25, which is 200. Don't forget about that other plus 5y, and that needs to be equal to 67. So now we have negative 24y plus 5y. That's going to give me a negative 19y plus 200 is equal to 67. So now I'm going to subtract 200 from both sides. And I get that a negative 19 is equal to 733. So now I'm going to divide both sides by a negative 19. And then we're going to get that y is equal to, so that's going to actually be 7 since this guy is negative right here. This is a negative 133, sorry, not 733. So $7. Now remember that y represents the child's ticket. So it's $7 for child. So if we go back here, we can plug in 7 for that y right there to get the senior citizen price. So that's going to be that x is equal to a negative 3 times 7 plus 25. So that's a negative 21 plus 25, and that's going to give us 4. So x is equal to $4, and that's for senior citizens. All right, so let's call this good for the note sheet. If you've finished watching the video, we'll call it good, and you only have to do 1 through 4 on the homework. Thank you for listening.